Hello, my name is Robbie Fitzwater. I own and operate Marketing Rhythm. We help e-commerce businesses with retention marketing, focusing mainly on email marketing and SMS marketing. We get asked a lot, what is the difference between like a campaign email and a promotional email? And kind of how do we find that sweet spot for both? So we know businesses, again, everybody sees their email. When they come through, basically we'll see like, okay, this is a promotion or this is a piece of content. So how do we find that sweet spot in that happy medium where we're, again, sending emails that are going to be engaging, inspiring, and educational, but also having emails that sell? And we're going to walk you through kind of our reasoning behind a lot of this. We tend to lean really heavily on content. We are big believers in content marketing and the way the content supports our goals through our distribution of it. And we think of email as no different than any other marketing channel you're going to be using, except it's probably one of the more effective distribution channels for that content you have. So let's use it to get in front and engage with your audience in different ways. So high level, content versus promotional. Content is going to be, the content campaigns are going to be campaigns or emails that are going to be value-added emails that add more than they ask for. Basically, how are you serving your community in unique and different ways, offering perspective, offering value, and giving engaging, informative content that's hopefully going to be something that's going to keep them engaged and being able to earn and maintain their attention. Promotional emails are going to be more so in lines with promoting a product or sale or an event that's going to be a little bit more transactional, have a little bit more of a purpose towards selling and a little bit more pushing. But if we were to do one or the other too much, we're not really going to have many business results or outcomes. So we want to be building ourselves up for both to find that sweet spot for our brand and business where both are complementing each other and we're able to drive a lot more revenue through it, because at the end of the day, if we're not driving revenue, we're not doing our job. So this is kind of, we're going to walk you through how we look at promotional campaigns versus content campaigns and how we work to build that mix so you can find that right cadence of each and not necessarily have like too engaging of content where you're going to be, again, just like keeping people, making them feel warm and fuzzy. Clicks and reads are not going to feed your family, but also, again, keeping them engaged where they're going to be purchasing and ideally driving some transactional value too. So what is a content campaign? Content campaign is basically a campaign that adds value beyond the transaction. That's going to be basically for e-commerce businesses, any opportunity we can use to like communicate, educate, inform, and inspire our audience is really helpful because it allows us a chance to communicate, add value beyond the transaction, and it also gives us an at-bat. We suddenly have an opportunity to send an email that doesn't require us to offer a discount or offer a promotion. See, a lot of groups starting off with a strategy of, okay, we're going to start email marketing. This is good. This is going to be what we do. Week 1, 10% off. Week 2, 15% off. Week 3, 20% off. Week 4, 25% off. Where do we go from there? It's a race to the bottom. It's not a strategy. It's just like, again, trying to find a way of like escalating that. That's not a strategy. It's a tactical way of doing things. It's really kind of bad because you're essentially burning out your audience and training them to expect discounting and expect promotions all the time. It's a race to the bottom, and a race to the bottom, nobody wins. So what we like to do is basically we want to use that content as a way of reaching our audience and communicating with them, adding value, and also giving us an at-bat during any given time. We know that generally, if you have, depending on your business type or depending on the category you fit into, there may be, again, multiple products you sell that have some type of replenishable nature, or given your different product repurchase cycle, you may have an opportunity to communicate with them in between. Even groups that we work with that have a really long repurchase cycle for some of their products, the in-between process is really easy to keep them engaged and informed and educated, and make sure that by the time they do actually need to make that second purchase or that next purchase, we're top of mind and aware and have differentiated ourselves to be the experts in that category. So we're the natural next step to purchase from us. So we really want to be able to use that effectively. Also, for content campaigns, in the way that we're using it, we want to be thinking about this as another way to monetize our content that we're building for other goals. So content we're building for SEO, we want to be able to use that and leverage it to monetize early. So if we can, again, drive, if we invest money in SEO and we can drive like $5,000 to $10,000 in a campaign email that adds value beyond the transaction, adds value and giving people a reason to come back to your site, that's a really powerful way of getting, again, the value out of that content really quickly. And then again, if it works well to automate it or use it in different ways, recycle it later on too, and then it's going to drive that long tail traffic. If you want to dive deeper into that process, we have another blog post on that and another long video with me ranting around like content monetization. So you can have some fun with that. But basically, it's going to give us a chance to, again, communicate those things. And truthfully, once we get people to our site, that's where our other marketing automations really fit into play. So we may have automations running off of like browse abandonment. So if we're getting them back to our site and they're viewing a product, we kind of have our hooks in, and it gives us a chance to continue that conversation further. And the goal being there to get them back to our site. That's why I'm always saying, like, people are like, okay, should I link to my YouTube page from the email? No, embed that as a blog post, embed that YouTube video in a blog post, and then again, link back to there, because you want them back on your site so they're not going to get distracted and lost. That's how this is going to work. And that's kind of how our marketing ecosystem works together to keep them engaged. But that content's got to get them there, and got basically you're earning and maintaining attention, and thinking about it from that lens really helps kind of think about how we want to be balancing those two. And again, working to engage, inspire, entertain is kind of a good goal to that. For businesses that have some level of expertise, this is also a really unique way to humanize your team and kind of separate and differentiate yourselves as experts in the space. Again, we always joke like, hey, you're never going to be able to outscale Amazon, but you can probably outhuman them. And for so many e-commerce retailers, like that needs to be the goal of differentiation and separation from that, like again, that behemoth that is Amazon, because again, it doesn't have that human face, it doesn't have that human touch, and this is where we can again add value beyond the transaction and differentiate there. If we're the trusted resource in our category, we're going to be the first pick when somebody eventually does need to make another purchase. We're going to be top of mind because they've been opening our emails very consistently for the last year, and when they need it again, circle back around to get something, they're ready to go. We also kind of look at these in two different buckets, like in that way too, where some of the content we may be sharing might be more evergreen. Like, so we have like a client that has like how to clean and care for leather, their leather tack or leather products. And that's really great because it's offering the opportunity to, again, this is going to be something they need to do year round. They need to be, again, this fits contextually for them in different ways, but again, it's not really seasonal. So it's really evergreen in the way that it can be used at any given time, and it's going to hopefully add value or offer support at any given time. We also have content that's going to fit more into the contextual bucket. So content around like how to stay warm while riding in the winter. That's going to fit really, really, again, nicely into a more contextual bucket of like things to do, again, as it's getting colder or when it's cold. Again, if I'm living in the southern states of the United States, and I'm like how to ride in the cold weather, that's not going to be relevant for me because like my context does not match that at all. So again, we're trying to line up the right message at the right time for the right person, and thinking about how we can kind of fit those pieces of content in different ways, and then when is going to be the most opportune time to do that. So when we're doing this, these content emails can be used to have some value to us too, while again, we're getting them back to our site, we're keeping them engaged, and again, ideally driving a sale from this. We always look at kind of trying to build these. It's kind of a Trojan horse where we have content that's going to be valuable and adding something to that post-purchase sequence, or again, kind of wherever that's going to fit in the life cycle of that customer. But that content ideally can be shared with some complementary products that are going to supplement those, again, the content you're sharing. So like, again, riding in the winter, these are items that would be helpful for riding in the winter. Or how to clean and care for leather, like these are items that may be helpful and valuable. Oh yeah, we do carry those, so here they are. Those are really easy to add as kind of like a cross-sell inside those emails. But again, I call it a Trojan horse because you're adding value first, and then you can ask, and it gives you the unique opportunity to do that. But you also tee yourself up for like a nice, again, natural extension of that conversation already. Thinking about that content, we want to be using those with the goal of increasing the average order value of your repeat customers. So if we can think about those, again, those repeat customers having a higher average order value, if we can use that content to educate and inform them around your product or category, and that next time they need to make a purchase, ideally they're going to purchase more, a larger bundle, maybe a little bit of an upgraded product, because you can illustrate and educate them around the value, the higher value that product offers. But this is where you're trying to, again, increase that average order value to inform them around like how what they're going to be doing works. You can also use that content to automate at different stages of that customer lifecycle, which we really love doing, especially like a post-purchase sequence. If you know if they're purchasing in one specific category, you can automate that at a different stage. So again, if I'm buying a if I'm buying a pair of like leather boots or some leather item, like after I purchase that, how to clean and care for leather is going to be really relevant for me pretty soon after, so I can, again, make sure I get the most use out of the product I have, or like how to care for it, how to break things in. Those are all going to be super relevant. So those are going to be things that are on my mind. They're going to add value beyond the transaction and improve the post-purchase experience to really, again, separate you from anybody else, because Amazon doesn't do that. Most groups don't do that, but if you can, you give yourself a really unique human connection and you're adding value. Again, we have groups that are in the coffee space. So after, again, somebody purchases a coffee for the first time, like, hey, how do you, like, ways to brew coffee? What level of grinding is going to be appropriate for you? How to grind coffee? All of those things are going to be helpful in getting the most use out of it and getting the most enjoyment out of the product. And that's kind of the way we want to be thinking about that content we're adding at those life cycle stages. So we have the person using it, that hopefully they're having, again, the most enjoyment out of that, but it gives us those great opportunities to, again, get more out of the product, because again, if they're using it and enjoying it more, they're probably going to want to come back for more. And especially like for coffee, if they're, again, really enjoying it, they're going through all of it really fast, they're going to need more coffee sooner. So again, it's a virtuous cycle when we use that. So we always work to kind of like think about this in terms of like, hey, how do we use this content kind of the way we're using content on social, where we're using it to engage people over a long period of time. Anybody who works in social for a long time knows, like, hey, if we're doing too much like warm fuzzy content, we're not going to have a business outcome. But if we're doing too much, again, selling content, we're going to feel like a used car lot. Nobody likes that. It's not as much fun. Also, some of that content may fit into more what we call like the bottom of the, we always refer to it as like bottom of the funnel content, or more like warm fuzzy content that's like really deeply engaging, content that could be kind of irreverent, kind of fun, not necessarily as like hard hitting as some content that's mainly built for like SEO, like a best of guide, or like a brew guide, or like some type of guide to make a purchase. But content that's going to be more like, again, irreverent around the specific category, generally requires some, again, level of domain expertise from that organization. Those really help to kind of make those really unique, make those really human. And especially when we're sending those on a consistent basis, we always feel like the audience starts to build a relationship with the author of that post, or author of that content. That kind of really helps to separate them in the mind of that person. We joke, we have clients who are like, they'll get emails and they'll get content from specific authors in our client base, and they're like, hey, can I talk to Lizzie? Or hey, can I talk to Michelle? And they'll be calling them on the phone asking to talk to that person, because like, yeah, that's the person they want to talk to. Or like they'll, again, feel like they know them as a person. And that's kind of the goal of a lot of it, is we want to be separating ourselves and, again, positioning ourselves as experts. Generally, the easiest way for us to start to get into a rhythm of this in that content process is we like to put that content, those content emails and that content sending and cadence into kind of what we call that, like that hub category of the hygiene hub and hero model, where hygiene stuff hygiene is stuff we're doing every day. Again, this isn't always going to be on the email side. Hub may be things we're doing every week. This is where we may be sending that like weekly cadence of an email. And then hero is going to be something we do every quarter to every once a year, where it's going to be a little bit heavier lift. We can't necessarily scale it on a consistent basis, but again, like Black Friday, Cyber Monday for an e-commerce store, that's going to be a piece of hero content or a hero initiative that we're going to be engaging in. So again, we want to put some firepower behind it. But when we look at this in the hub category, it's a little bit easier. So I made kind of like a diagram. If this is a month, this is the first of the month, this is the 31st. Like if we're having that hub content, we may be sharing it on the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. So we just have a consistent drumbeat. We kind of train our audience to expect, again, a piece of content once a week. And that gives us a consistency that we're really going to be shooting for, where we kind of hit that consistent cadence and drumbeat, where we're, again, communicating, distributing, and informing, but we're also able to learn from this, because if we're, again, doing this on a more regular basis, we have a better understanding and insight on who our audience is, how engaged they are, and what do we need to be doing to keep their attention. So this is where that hub content really fits in well, because we're not reinventing the wheel. We know, again, this email is not going to go out on Tuesday because it's perfect, it's polished, and everything's like completely I's dotted and T's crossed. Like, we want it to be as close up as possible, yes, but again, it's going out on Tuesday because it's time to publish, and we have to kind of get into that mindset a little bit more so to keep that cadence going early. But once we start to do it, it becomes kind of second nature, and we become really efficient at it. So we want to be able to start doing that. So that hub content really fits well here, where we're not reinventing the wheel all the time. And depending on your business, your category, it can be a number of different things that would fit into that hub category, but it gives us a nice skeleton for the rest of our, again, communications, or basically our communication cadence. And I guess kind of going back to that, like, bottom of the funnel versus top of the funnel content, I wanted to mention this too. I was trying to think about the two as like a well-balanced meal, like where that top of the funnel content would be like broccoli. It's going to be a little bit, again, much more nutritious, much more structured, much, again, like much better for you at the end of the day. But again, if all you eat is broccoli, you're not really going to crave it. You're not really going to enjoy it as much, or again, it's kind of hard to get super excited about getting broccoli every week. But if all you had is a dessert, your stomach's going to hurt after a while. So finding the balance between both is going to have you a little bit more well balanced, and have you feeling a little bit better at the end of the day. So let's shoot for balance in the sides of content we're looking at, and then I can walk through how we kind of think about some of those things as they work with promotional content also. So the next piece that I wanted to walk through is promotional content. Promotional campaigns are going to be really unique, really, again, more consistent. This is typically what people think about when they think about email marketing. This is like basically a new product release, a sale, or a promotion of a specific product. Those are going to really be something that, again, we use, but we don't want to use too often, because, again, it can feel really one-dimensional, and we can also commoditize our business, because when everything is a sale, really nothing is a sale. So we don't want to fall into that commodity space. We don't want to commoditize our product, service, or offering, and that's why too much of this is kind of a bad strategy for long-term growth. It happens really easily out of the gate when people really you're like scratching your head, like, what should I send this week? I want to send it. I want to send something, but I don't know what to send. So like we joked like the 10% off, the 15% off, and the 20% off. Like, it's not a strategy. But as we use these, this gives us a really nice way of, again, driving a larger amount of sales in a given window, but also driving a good amount of volume around, again, a new product release. And using those in conjunction of content and promotion gives us a great way of making sure we're selling and we're driving business value and driving revenue, but also we're not burning out our list with just being so one-dimensional. And again, having that used car lot feel to our marketing, which nobody really loves. Like, nobody loves the marketing for a used car lot, because it's the same thing over and over and over. So we want to be relevant. Basically, we always look at this, we always try and think about, and we always try and work with clients, like, hey, if we're going to have a promotion or a sale, let's do that once every 6 to 8 weeks. If we do want to, again, in the e-commerce space, we know people do this really consistently. So again, that is enough of a break where our audience is not going to get burnt out. Our audience is also not going to be trained to expect a sale every time. So people will, we see leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, in the United States, people don't buy toilet paper from October on, because they're waiting for a Cyber Monday deal or a Black Friday deal. So again, we don't want to train people to just expect that and just wait for it. So we want to be, again, keeping those spread out enough. But where we really try and find our sweet spot here is where we can get both of those connected well. And where both of those really work together is really kind of like where we think that a lot of value is added. We always think about this in terms of like, how do we kind of tee ourselves up for success? And when we think about like the balance between promotion and like content and promotion, is basically how do both those work together? So if we can give content, we think about this as like if we give once, we give twice, we give three times, it gives us an opportunity to ask. So if once we've given enough value, we have the opportunity to ask later. Or another way of looking at it is like, hey, our content is the lead into a joke and the promotion is a punchline. We want to be able to lead into that joke really well because that's going to give context. It's going to make that joke a lot funnier. It's going to make that punchline a lot better when the punchline hits. But if we don't lead into it, we're not going to have a punchline because like punchline after punchline after punchline like doesn't have any context and it's not really funny. So like it's, again, maybe works once or twice as a one-liner, but after that, it just loses its efficacy because we're not really engaged. We don't have any storytelling component. There's no real reason we want to keep coming back. So again, thinking about it like give, then ask, or as that like, hey, this is the lead into a joke and then the promotion is the punchline. And that's where we want to be driving that revenue. So how do we get these to work together well? We think about like, hey, how do we get our audience engaged? So again, we know they're going to need to make some type of purchase eventually. We know that, again, which segments are going to be needing to do that sooner than later. And then how can we keep that content relevant and fresh so they're not going to be just tuning out? So where we like to kind of like use this to supplement itself is, again, we may look at our monthly calendar. We have our Hub Content Sends. Do we have like four of those are in a given month? If we're going to have a promotion in here, how do we lead into that so it's going to have the most value in it? And then how do we kind of keep that excitement building so we're not going to be just like a one-dimensional in that way. So say we were going to have a promotion, lead into a promotion that was going to be, again, like if we're sending on Thursdays, we may have another promotion that goes on the weekend following this day. We want to have that, again, probably this is promotion. We may, again, kind of like tee people up or offer an incentive for our VIP list. But again, that's going to be after we have a piece of engaging content that hopefully kind of tees us up for success. And then we may, again, give people early access if they've been, again, signed up for our VIP list. But we want to be having a piece of content here before we actually before we're going into that sale or promotional event, because if we can get people super engaged, super excited about what we're doing, or again, on board with what we're doing, that's going to be an easy way for us to grab their attention and then piggyback off that attention. So again, we're thinking about earning and maintaining attention. If we're going to be, again, lining up our content here, we want to be really playing the hits here. So if content we know is going to drive a lot of clicks, something that's worked in the past and we can recycle it, that's going to be a great piece of content for before we actually kick off for broad level promotion, because it gets a lot of our audience engaged, a lot of our audience back to our site. And then we're super relevant when we actually say, oh yeah, we're actually having a promotion here. So we could like use that as a Trojan horse as a secondary CTA here beforehand in this email. But then after that, it's going to be much more relevant and we're going to be more top of mind when we say, okay, oh yeah, and wait till tomorrow, we're going to be doing something special. When this actually does roll out, we're going to be introducing it, maybe having another follow-up, then like a last chance. And even inside here, like for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like we like to add some like content on the Saturday and the Sunday. And then like, oh yeah, we're actually doing these promotional events here, just to vary that messaging a little bit, but it gives us a chance to kind of communicate more often there where we want to be opening that sale event up to a broader list. We want to be communicating again on the front end, afterwards, and then communicating last chance, and then like the final little bit. And that gives us a way of, again, keeping people engaged through the course of time, but also, again, once we have their attention, once we know we're playing the hits, it gives us an opportunity to tee us up for success. And then afterwards, after this is over, we also have another piece of content to start to work that re-engagement process and keeping them excited about our business, where we're doing a lot more promotion, a lot more selling earlier. We can go back into that, again, adding value beyond the transaction stage and gives us opportunity to, again, just continue that conversation on. So then six to 8 weeks later, we can do something again like this that's going to offer some type of incentive, some type of value like this. But it's not going to feel like it's too one-dimensional when we do that. Some groups we have 4 sends a week. They're all going to be different. We want to find that balance and that sweet spot. So for your brand, your business, you want to be experimenting with this a little bit. How much is too much? What level of content saturation are we going to hit before people just start checking out and don't open our emails? Those are all going to be things you need to answer for yourself. But once we can think about how we can kind of work both of these in, it's a great way of doing this on a more consistent basis. Where we can also kind of build like kind of a hybrid approach to this is, hey, if we can borrow some user generated content or some behind the scenes stuff, incorporate it into like our promotional content, it really does make those feel a little bit more authentic and a little bit more human. We also like to introduce those promotional emails as like an email from someone's XYZ at your business, because it gives that more human feel, that more human touch. If those are too published and too, again, crisp and well designed, those don't always come across as human. And those, again, more human emails, we can generally get away with a little bit more in terms of the selling activity we're doing there. So trying to find that sweet spot. And again, every brand is going to be different. So you working through what's going to work for your brand is going to be super important. At the end of the day, how do we measure success on these? This is kind of like, again, where the rubber meets the road. So we think about these like, hey, how well is this driving revenue? And where we're talking about this in terms of like our, again, email marketing ecosystem, we want to be driving revenue in our automations, and we want to be driving revenue in our campaigns. So both of those are going to be driving, again, value and revenue for our business here. But again, at the end of the day, if this doesn't work, if it's not driving revenue, we can't, it's not, we may need to refocus and shift. But thinking about this, revenue from repeat purchasers is also a really unique opportunity and a goal we should be looking at here, because ideally we're going to be driving repeats from that content and from those promotional campaigns. We don't want to be, again, all of that promotion. We don't want to be driving new customers, because again, we don't want to be sacrificing margin out of the gate, too much margin out of the gate, but we can do that every once in a while. So revenue from repeat purchasers is another metric we like to look at. Revenue from or average order value from repeat purchasers is another metric we like to look at. Generally, for most of our clients, our revenue from repeat purchasers is going to be really strong, but also our average order value from repeat purchasers is going to be much stronger than revenue from first-time purchasers. They know your brand better. If you've given a good brand experience, they're willing to invest more, and hopefully you've educated and informed them so they need to actually purchase a larger bundle next time. And that's where, again, we can hopefully move them in that direction. We also can measure this by like how much is our community responding to them? How much are they actually clicking on it? So for content, not all of it's going to be direct selling. So how many people are we actually getting back to the site? How much are we teeing ourselves up for people to be coming to our site and viewing us as thought leaders? Those do take time, and especially businesses that have done a good job of decommoditizing themselves or separating themselves in the like hearts and minds of their audience, they're going to have a much easier time, again, doing that. If you've been in that commodity space or you've been like playing the price game for too long, you're going to have to work to kind of retrain your audience to get back out of that, where they see you as a differentiated service provider or product provider. So again, trying to separate yourself from your competition is going to be super important here. So those are going to be ways that you can be thinking about how do we measure success. We want to be measuring success. We like to measure our business month over month. So we know, hey, how well are we keeping average order value up? How well are we keeping repeat purchasers revenue up? And then like what percentage of that is going to be comprised, like how much revenue we're making as a whole. Ideally, that's going to be a strong percentage, and the stronger the percentage that is, the better we're typically doing in the work we're doing. So those are all going to be areas where we can think about how our content and our promotional mix really fit together, and how we can build a nice cadence of consistent communication without burning out our audience, without doing too much. Again, thinking about both as the way they complement each other and supplement each other. Again, all content typically may not feed your family, but again, too much again, structure is not necessarily going to be, too much promotion is not necessarily going to be a long-term sustainable strategy, because again, it sacrifices margin, it burns out your audience, and it's harder to maintain that momentum if you're not adding some type of value and you're kind of commoditizing yourself in that process. So closing, hopefully this is helpful. Again, this is going to be dependent on your brand, your business, and kind of how you want to be, again, driving people, again, to purchase. But the way we like to do this and the way we really believe is powerful is, hey, let's use content, let's differentiate ourselves, and let's keep that ball rolling. And ideally, we're going to be learning something all the time here. So it's going to give us lots of opportunity to learn and grow. And if we're strategically taking advantage of that, it's going to give us really great reasons to continue that communication process and expand what we're doing. So again, if you guys have any more questions, let us know. We love your feedback, love the comments. If there's anything we missed too, like anything like, oh my gosh, how'd you guys miss this? Like, let me know. Again, we're figuring this out. We're trying these things. We're trying to unpack these strategies we have and bring them to you. So let us know what you think. And this is Robbie Fitzwater, and we'll see you guys around. If you want to subscribe, I'm not going to make a shameless plug, but this is my shameless plug. You should subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.